Arizona's back in action, this time on the road at Washington State. And I brought in Sleeper's West Coast correspondent, Connor Hope, Heat Check CBB, here to guide us through whether or not this could be a dicey game for a Wildcats team that has been good on the road. I mean, they beat Duke and Cameron. That matters. But then also give up 100 points to Stanford on the road. That does catch my attention. What's the concern level? Is this like a red alert, yellow, orange? What color concern code are we for Arizona on the road against Washington State?
Green. Like it's I don't know, because you look at the games that Arizona has lost. They lost to Purdue, who I still think is right now consistency wise and maybe floor ceiling wise the best team in the country. In what was essentially a road game. They dropped one in double overtime to a FAU team that beats good teams and loses to bad teams. And so when you're a top 5 team like Arizona, FAU is going to play like a top 5 team because that's just what they do. And then they lost to Stanford because Stanford got hot from deep. And say what you want about this Stanford team, they shoot the ball 38% from 3 on the season. So it's not like this was 60 whatever percent they shot was insane, but they were already a team that was approaching 40% from 3. I think they're top 20 in the country. This Washington State team is not a top 20 team from deep in the country. They shoot under 34% from deep. I don't think they have the talent outside of that to go one-on-one at any position with this Arizona roster. And so you're looking at, they're going to have to win it on a team effort and hope that Arizona gets cold. I just don't know if that's going to happen in this one. Just given their roster construction, given the fact that they can't, I don't think Washington State can go on enough runs against Arizona to be like a true counterpunch for the 1 or 2 runs in the second half. Arizona's going to go on.
Yep. I think you're right. And when you look at personnel here, the thing for me of how I'll evaluate some of these road games for Arizona and Pac-12 play, right? Obviously, I'm betting a lot of these games, and I look for spots. But more importantly, I look for, do they have a guy that I trust to go be the best player in the game? Obviously, Arizona's loaded, and anybody can beat you any given night. But that doesn't mean somebody can't come in and do that. And I think if you look at really all of their losses, I think you could say the best player in the game ended up being on the other team with Purdue. Honestly, you could make an argument that either Braden Smith or Fletcher Lawyer or Zach Edey got the best of them that game. For Florida Atlantic, it was John L. Davis. Against Stanford, it was Carlisle off the bench, the freshman, with 28 points. But even coming into that game, it's like, Spencer Jones, Michael Jones, one of those two could have a crazy good game. They're capable of that. I don't know who that is on Washington State. Is there a guy on Washington State that it could be?
Jalen Wells, off the bench, I think at the 3 is probably the right answer. Best shooter, I think, on Washington State's team, has the size to compete with the size of the wings for Arizona, and doesn't make mistakes. Doesn't turn the ball over. It doesn't go after boards on the offensive end, but he's a pretty decent defensive rebounder. But again, you're looking at a bench player coming off and trying to outplay and beat Pell Larson, which is probably this place where Arizona's most vulnerable. For as good as Larson has been, that's where they've been most vulnerable. So I think if we come back and Washington State has won this game, in my opinion, it's a Jalen Wells game, but I'm not confident it's going to be a Jalen Wells game. So I don't think we're going to be talking about a Washington State win on Sunday.
Okay, that's where my head's at too. I like the Wells shout out. I'll keep an eye on him for sure. My answer would have been Miles Rice, just because I think there's an argument he's Washington State's best player. He's been really good as a freshman.
He is, but he's the freshman, and I don't know if he's going to be I don't know what the talent level difference between him and Kylan Boswell is.
Right. It's big. I think it's big at least. But yeah, it's almost, I almost like unproven types in this rather than like, okay, this isn't against Wells specifically or anybody, but like, I don't know. Sometimes like there's a wild card element to like, what if this kid's really special? We just haven't seen him in a big moment like this. And from what I've seen of Rice, that could apply to him, but I certainly wouldn't bet on it until we see it. Stylistically, Washington State pretty slow, 278th tempo in the country. Arizona obviously wants to push the pace. That is one of the things I circle with teams is like, if you're the home team and you limit possessions and you can win the 3-point battle, those are normally teams I like to bet on. The only thing is Washington State, I don't think can win the 3-point battle with how they shoot the basketball. But do you think tempo is something that Washington State could potentially flip into a positive against Arizona? Yes or no?
I think tempo will determine the outcome of this game in the sense of the only way Washington State has a chance is if they limit points, if they limit possessions. But I don't necessarily think it flipped like with Wisconsin, like with some other teams that have played Arizona. I think it's more of you give yourself the best shot by slowing down the game. But I don't know if I would consider it an advantage as much as a high tempo certainly is an advantage for Arizona. So yes, it's an advantage for Washington State, but only because the alternative results in a 25-point win for Arizona.
Yep, I agree with you there. I was going to ask you as we make our predictions, who do you think is the best player for Arizona in this game? Because I feel like it's constantly changing. Any given night, it can be someone different. The only guy I would be surprised to see it be in this game would be Ballo, because Washington State is pretty good internally, defensively. They're pretty good at preventing offensive rebounds. And to me, that's sort of where Ballo makes his money. So give us your prediction. Give us who you think is the star of this game.
Kansas by 14, or not Kansas, Arizona by 14. We just did a Kansas preview. Me and Brian Ralph, but Arizona by 14. Caleb Love is going to go for 20 plus.
I think I agree with you. I think 15 range feels right to me. So I'm just going to straight up steal your prediction, Brian. Caleb Love leads the game in scoring. 14-point win for Arizona. Feels good to me. That's Connor Hope. Did I just call you Brian?
We're all sorts of messed up.
We're so tired right now. What that? It's 5 o'clock on a Friday, and neither one of us can see straight right now. That's Connor Hope from Heat Check CBB. I'm GregWaddell from Sleepers Media. I think Arizona's going to win this game.
And check out Brian and I's preview of Kansas, Oklahoma while you're at it. So
go do that. And yeah, if our performance in this video is any indication, Washington State money line has immense value, ladies and gentlemen.